Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo story. Two encounters in less than 24 hours in Jammu and Kashmir. The first encounter in Rajouri, in which two terrorists were killed and one army jawan was also killed in action. And today, the encounter in Kokarnag in South Kashmir's Anantnag district. This encounter is still going on, but security forces have taken casualties in this encounter. One army colonel, one major, and one DSP of Jammu and Kashmir police have been killed in action in that encounter and is still going on. Terrorists, we don't know their number, how many of them are still in that area. The area has been cordoned off and an operation is underway. To discuss this sudden spurt of violence in Jammu and Kashmir, let's go across to our guests, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni and Major General Ashok Kumar join us for on the show. Welcome to the show, sir. I want to go across to Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni first. What could be the reason for this sudden spurt of violence in J&K? There are two encounters that took place to the south of Pir Panjal in Rajouri, the first encounter, and now in the Kashmir Valley that's still going on. What's the sense that you make of it?
Zafar, at the very outset, extremely sad to hear. Losing lives is very, very sad. But, it's part of this counterinsurgency. We first and foremost, let me be honest about it, much that we might say that there is normalcy, there is no denying the fact that there is normalcy, but this is a work in progress. And this normalcy is what the adversaries don't like it. And that is the reason why you found millions of people, tourism, we found it having gone well. Anantnag, the entire, the Amarnath Yatra went off extremely well. We found that everything was looking very good, and that is where these people are always on the lookout for a weakness to be found. And this is where we cannot afford to be complacent, number one. Number two, these kind of things will be done by Pakistan. Obviously, you have Pakistan on the back foot economically. You find them in terrible state in all kinds of manner. And therefore, you will find that they will ensure, because even the kind of things that are happening in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, we've been hearing reports that people from there en masse wish to join India because they are themselves fed up of the inflation, they're fed up of the kind of discrimination happening in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So all these kind of things. Now, with China also diplomatically on the back foot, it finds itself isolated because after the G20, you'll find that there will be a kind of pressurizing Pakistan that, come on, do what we are supposed to be doing, pressurize India as much as we can. And because they know for sure that we are looking at it, that everything has come to normal. Normalcy, yes, to a very, very large extent, but this is a work in progress. And therefore, we must not take for granted. We must be vigilant at all times. Our guards can't be down. And at no point of time, imagine the commanding officer, the company commander, the DSP injured. You have incidents happening at Kokarnag, Rajouri. We've even lost a dog in Rajouri in that encounter over there. All these losses, we have to be careful. We have to be very, very cautious because the militants lose nothing. They are not the ones who are we lose, and we must be very careful not to lose lives. But it's one of those things that it can happen, because if you are surprised, this is the way the losses would be there. But I would personally say, Zafar, that we have to be very careful now that the winters are setting in. All the more reason before the Pir Panjal block, they would have all infiltrated. We know that there will be a lot of militants being pushed from the POK side onto India, and this is what will happen. So we have to be prepared, and we should not suffer losses. We should be able to kill militants, and these encounters, time should not be at this thing. Time is ours. It can take 2 days, 3 days, 5, 7 days, 15 days for the encounter. Let it be. It is better to starve them to death rather than getting involved into a gunfight at all times. Yeah, sir.
Yes. It's important to mention here that these casualties were taken in the initial exchange of fire. In the first burst of fire, these casualties were taken by the security forces. Then obviously, the entire area was cordoned off and an operation was started. But it's just the first exchange of fire. Major General Ashok Kumar, the point here is, uh, uh, as being mentioned, that a series of successful events have taken place. There's G20 summit that was held in Delhi. Even before that, a working committee, a working group sat in Kashmir for the tourism part of it, and then there was this Amarnath Yatra that's been peacefully held. So all those things must have, been some sort of a instigation, provocation for the terrorists and their handlers to raise the tempo to start these activities again. And it's not just happened in the valley, but across the Pir Panjal in Rajouri as well.
Jafar, if you really look at these two events which have taken place within 24 hours, it is a sad development. But it is not that all of a sudden this has happened. If you take stock of all the terrorist activities, including the soldiers killed in last 6 months, there is a substantial loss which security forces have suffered. What we need to understand and realize, for Pakistan, this is a strategic effort. Despite being economically down, despite having poor relationship with Taliban government in Afghanistan, despite being suffering casualties through the hands of TTP, and still it is fighting its JNK battle at the strategic level. As against that, we are trying to look at the management of that problem at the tactical level. We have been fighting this insurgency for more than 3 decades now, and if you really see that we are able to kill few terrorists, we are also suffering casualties. Of course, the number of terrorists killed are much more than what casualties we suffer, but that is not a point of satisfaction, as General Kulkarni highlighted, that if you kill 10 guys, but if you lose two of yours, it's not a gain per se. It is better to kill five and lose none of ours. So we have to look at as to how we manage this problem at the strategic level. What we did after Uri and Pulwama strike, that was largely symbolic in nature. We don't have to have that much casualties to take any stern action. Our messaging to our adversaries have to be very, very clear that any actions, whether purported from across the line of control or through the local people, which in any case is supported by them, will be responded with unprecedented and unbearable loss. Somehow that kind of messaging in action is missing. And of course it is absolutely right that in since the time of SCO presidency of India and G20 presidency of India has emerged in the global stage in a big way. And during this process, both China and Pakistan, who are doing everything in a collusive way, they have been left behind. So this could be one reasons to actually enhance the such kind of activities. But I think it is a continuum spectrum, and that has to be handled at the strategic level. And besides what we do in Kashmir, I think nationally also we have to look at our fault lines also. We have to ensure that at the national level we don't have fault lines amongst our population on religious grounds, on caste ground, on reason wise, because these will also add directly or indirectly to these kind of activities in the valley.
Right, but in Jammu and Kashmir, this militancy has been going on for decades now. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, you would agree that it has its own dynamics. Right now, we are at a stage when infiltration levels would be up because the winters will set in, snow will block the passes, and then their infiltration will stop altogether. So this is quite a crucial time, the end of Amarnath Yatra and the beginning of winters. That's the time when there is generally a spurt in militant activities and in infiltration beds.
Definitely. Zafar, what happens is we get adequate information. We have all kinds of information coming in, exactly what is happening everywhere. And that is how these encounters take place because we know exactly where the militant is and we have to be careful. I would look at it that we must not rush into anything. It is our effort. Once we know that there are militants at a particular hold up and this thing, let them die. It is better to starve them to death and, rather than getting involved. Because what is happening now, now like these casualties which have happened at initial go only. That means as soon as we are being deployed or whatever has taken place, I don't know the exact this thing. All precautions would have been taken, but these people are waiting. They are, they are trying to ambush us, and that is where it happens because they all look the same. Whether it's not that he is looking different, and whether it is a homegrown militancy, if there are some or people pushed from across the LOC which have come over here now, and there are certain people in and around there on whose they're being logistically being taken care of. So we have to have our human int 100% on ground, and we need to know the pulse of what's going on there. Plus, we need to have entire communication set up by which we have to pick up all the int that is coming in from there. So everything, all things available at our disposal must be utilized before we get into an encounter, because rushing into an encounter, it can be catastrophic because we cannot afford to lose lives. That is, we must see to it that we must not lose lives. The militants can lose lives. We must not lose lives. That is something we have to be careful about. And when we know whether it is Rajouri, we know how it is where things have been happening, encounters have been taking place for a long time. Kokarnag, Anantnag district, we know how sensitive the district is. And obviously, winters are about to set in. They would have pumped in, and they also want to ensure that India continues to remain under pressure. And at no point of time, they should be made to realize that everything is happening so well and that everything seems to be hunky dory in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. It is not so. We have to be careful. Yes, normalcy has come. There is no denying the fact. And it is because of the normalcy. You have tourism, a lot of developmental activities taking place, a lot of people working for you. There is a whole sea change in the attitude, the abrogation of Article 370, which is being heard in Supreme Court, again under pressure. There are certain groups. So all these activities will take place to ensure that at no point of time nobody should get complacent and nobody should be seen as being on the back foot. I look at it this way, that we have to be alert, we have to be vigilant, and these kind of activities will happen, and we have to be prepared for it because this is a work in progress. Earlier, they would be happening more often. Now, the time is there. Now, within 24 hours, has happened one between Rajouri and Anantnag, quite a distance, south of Pir Panjal ranges. I think we really need to be, concerned and not lose life. That is the way I would look at it. Yeah.
Right. The government has been quoting figures and saying that the graph of militancy and terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir has come down. In fact, Home Minister Amit Shah, in a gathering in Jammu recently, said that during the rule of previous government, there were 7,327 terrorist incidents in 10 years, in which 2,056 civilians were killed, while in the last 9 years, with a decrease of about 70%, 2,350 terrorist incidents happened, in which 377 civilians were killed. Would agree that the graph of militancy has come down. There is no unrest on the roads of Kashmir. Stone pelting has stopped altogether due to different measures that have been taken by the government. But Major General Ashok Kumar, you would agree that the focus of militancy has now changed. What were initially militancy-free areas like the south of Pir Panjal, like Rajouri, Poonch, they were completely wiped off. Militants from those areas, but now we're seeing militant activities taking place not just in south of Pir Panjal but in the Jammu district as well. There have been several encounters over the last year or 2 years. There have been encounters in Jammu as well as Rajouri and Poonch areas.
Absolutely. In fact, if you really see the initial focus of militancy in Jammu and Kashmir, initially it was focused on the Kashmir Valley. Subsequently, it came across the Pir Panjal ranges and engulfed the entire Jammu region. It thereafter, gravitated towards the international boundary, which we call, and they call is working boundary in the area of Samba, Akhnur, and those Kalochak. Those activities started. Subsequently, it started beyond Jammu and Kashmir. Also, the incidents of Pathankot and elsewhere are well known to you. I will leave aside the other terrorist activities which have happened in the countries and, of course, is sponsored by Pakistan. But now, as against getting limited and focused to a particular area, it is trying to catch up in the entire Jammu and Kashmir, so that whatever India is trying to achieve, that can be negated. And I think we have to have a different policy, a policy where we use the hard power against the foreign terrorists, against the sponsors like Pakistan and militants which are sheltered there, and soft power towards the population of Jammu and Kashmir to ensure that they are not alienated, so that we get the human intelligence, we get their cooperation, and the militants are deprived of the logistics support which they get from time to time. And if we approach the entire issue from that perspective, I think it may become a game changer.
Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, before I come to you, those are visuals of the GOC 15 Corps going to the spot. He visited the encounter site and took stock of the situation. The Director General Police of Jammu and Kashmir, Dilbag Singh, has also visited that place. So has IG Police Kashmir Range, Vijay Kumar. So top officers have gone to the place and taken stock of the situation. But do you think that somewhere the SOPs have not been followed, and that's what led to these casualties? There should be more emphasis on following the SOPs, particularly the time when the encounter really triggers off and the cordon is laid, and when the first exchange of fire happens.
Zafar, what happens is, if for a long time when there are no encounters and general feeling that there is a feeling that we have been able to knock off militancy, it isn't so. We have to be careful. There is no denying the fact. Yes, militancy has gone down to 90% have been eradicated, but 10% still remains, and those 10% now the time is theirs. So, if you have such senior officers injured or killed or things of those kind, it's bad. It definitely demoralizes the rest of them. So they also know that it hasn't happened. You know how between the Taliban and Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, how they are getting after the security forces. The ISI is under pressure because there's so much of going on in Pakistan and also along the Durand line between Taliban, joint Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and the security forces of Pakistan. So they are also wanting to do. ISI was between, okay, let's take the pressure off. Let's start doing things in India, pumping in people to the LOC. At the LOC, you find lakhs and lakhs of people over there wanting to join India. Demonstrations carrying on against the Pakistan regime, army in Pakistan under pressure. So you find these. We have to be vigilant. There is no question. We cannot let our guard down, irrespective, and not like this just immediately for the year or two, maybe for the next 10 years, maybe for the next 15 years. We have to be careful that it can happen anytime. Irrespective of whatever the situation may be, there can be millions of tourists coming there. Things might be looking normal, but for us as security forces, we have to ensure that encounter will take place. If it doesn't, so be it. But our preparation should be that it can take place at any point of time, because preparation is the best form of defense, and that is the only way to go about that. Encounters can happen, information will come, a lot of false information will also be there. Every now and then the coordinate search operations will be there. Troops will be under pressure. Things will happen, but under no circumstances should we lose lives. That is what I would look at it, that it has to be seen in that perspective. The time is ours. We don't care if a particular coordinate search takes 1 day. We are not bothered. It can take 25 days from my side. I will ensure that he's holed up there. He will be killed there. The time is mine, and not get involved into such a close fight in which we have to lose life. I think that is something I would want everybody to really look into it. Yeah, Zafar.
Major Ashok Kumar, the point here is that militants and their handlers are changing their tactics. Now, it's not just sending weapons from across the LOC. They are using drones, they are using technology, they're dropping weapons not just at the LOC but at the international border with drones. A lot of consignments have been seized by the security forces, by the BSF, by the army at the LOC and the borders. So, do you think in those circumstances, obviously a new strategy need to be adopted that should be dynamic to counter the changing tactics of the militants.
Absolutely, that is very, very important. If you critically analyze the development of these technologies the world over and the timeline in which Pakistan adopts that, you'll be able to predict what he is going to do the next. Even if the drone attack which they attempted on Jammu airfield, and if you correlate that with previous things which have happened the world over, you'll be able to exactly say what Pakistan is likely to do next in terms of the use of technology, in terms of the methodology, in terms of tactics. But we have to be a critical analytics professionally, and rather than continuing on a human based obsession of tactical level engagement. So the intelligence gathering at the apex level and its analysis using these modern techniques is very, very important, and the operations have to be conducted on pure authentic intelligence based, so that we incur more casualties on the terrorists, and we are able to save by due diligence our own casualties by some of the methods which General Controlly suggested, that there is no rush, but we can do that. But as you rightly brought out, the activities of drones, the modern technologies, the certain kind of telephone handsets which can have the without getting detected, the messages can be communicated, data can be flown. So all that has to be looked into for a coherent strategy, and that has to be embedded right from top to the last man. And unless that coherence is available, the results are going to be compromised. Sometime we may be lucky, sometime we may not be lucky, but that is not the way the Indian defense forces have to fight, who are planning to be a global power in days to come.
Right. That brings us to the end of our discussion. But the fact remains that these operations are still going on in Anantnag. The encounter is not over. The operations are still continuing. The cordon has been laid. Probably there will be a lull in the night, but the firefight will obviously resume at the first light, and then we will get a clarity about the number of terrorists and the organization they belong to. But for now, we'll have to leave it here. Thanks so much for joining us, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni and Major General Ashok Kumar, and thanks for watching the movie story.
Thank you, Jafar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.